Thank you. Admiral Tidd, I want to talk about the potential for migrant flows into the United States from Latin America, as we saw during the migrant crisis in the summer of 2014. Obviously, there are push factors involved, given the crime and the violence in, say, Central America, but there are always pull factors involved as well. This is one reason why President Obama stated in 2014 that parents in Central America shouldn't send their children to the United States through coyotes or human traffickers. Similarly, you see in Europe, after Chancellor Merkel said that Germany would take all migrants and refugees, there was a significant increase in the flows, not just from places like Syria and Iraq, but from many other countries in Africa and Asia. Therefore, I'm very troubled by what I heard last night in the Democratic debate. It's easy to write off political debates as theater, but we're the world's superpower. There's only 6 people right now who are likely to be our next president of the United States, our next commander-in-chief. And last night, the 2 candidates in the Democratic side said essentially that they would never send any children back to the country of origin if they make it to the United States. What kind of message does that send to families in Central America and South America about the risk they're willing to undertake to send their children to the United States through human traffickers and through coyotes?
Senator, I think one of the most effective things that the Department of Homeland Security was able to do to begin to curtail that movement of children coming into the country back in 2014 was to try to change the messages that were being communicated via social media back to family members that it's safe, it's easy to come in, you won't be incarcerated. They put a hard push to communicate that if you come across the border, you will be held until you can be processed for return back home. So I think all of the steps that can be taken to deal with those pull factors would be critical.
I agree. I mean, I don't think it's an especially moral policy what Chancellor Merkel has proposed in Europe or what we heard last night. We're essentially saying to people who are poor and oftentimes in countries racked by violence that if you can survive, you can stay here.
The critical work that you identified to try to change the push factors out of those countries, the long-term sustained work that's being done by Department of State, by USAID to try to provide economic opportunities so that the people will find that it is economically a much better decision to remain home, and then the work that's being done to try to improve security within those countries so that it is not it's a life or death decision to remain home. That's the key to the long-term solution.
I agree on the long-term solution. The work that you and all the men and women of Southcom do and have done for many years are critical to build that kind of capacity in the countries that send the most migrants here. But I also think that statements by American leaders that essentially create a full employment opportunity for human traffickers are very damaging, not just for our country, but for the young children that might be sent here. I'd like to stay in your AO and turn to Guantanamo Bay. I led a delegation of the freshmen on this committee and the Intelligence Committee last year to see Guantanamo Bay. We're very impressed by the operations. We're even more impressed by the men and women you have serving there. Could you explain to us a little bit about the stressful and sometimes dangerous working conditions they face handling these depraved terrorists?
Senator, thanks for the opportunity. In the short 2 months that I've been in this position, I've visited Guantanamo Bay twice to see for myself, to be able to assess exactly the high degree of professionalism and discipline that the men and women execute that mission. As you observed, it is very difficult, very challenging, oftentimes under enormous pressure from both the expectations from outside, but then also just the actions of the detainees there. There have been in the last 12 months 100 assaults committed by the detainees on our guard force. Assaults in the form of splashing, scratching, pushing, shoving, those sorts of activities, and then threats of worse if they had the ability to do that. The fact that our men and women never respond in a negative way, that they continue to remain very professional, I think is testimony to the fact that they are supremely well trained, they are exceptionally well qualified for the mission that we ask them to do. and all of the American people can be very proud of the job that they have done and continue to do.
Thank you. My time has expired.